What fact-checking is truly supposed to be in this country? The First Amendment, not some expert who can sit on and look at posts and tweets and different things and say, oh, that's not factual, take it down. That's not how it works.
Mood of Brandeis, but I want to ask.
You can stop there.
No, I got to keep going a little bit because I have to know whether or not your First Amendment passion and principles, which I take to be completely true, and I've always known that about you, extend to one citizen named Donald Trump. Now,
hey folks, welcome back to the channel. If you love liberty, the Constitution, and the truth, you're in the right place. Today, I want to react to a fiery exchange from a congressional hearing that lays out the real battle lines in this country. Freedom of speech versus government control and media manipulation. So, let's break down what happened here, because it says everything about what's at stake in America right now.
Good point. We talked, generally, the previous speaker talked about factual information. We've talked about fact-checking. Fact-checking. You know what fact-checking is truly supposed to be in this country? The First Amendment. Not some expert who can sit on and look at posts and tweets and different things and say, oh, that's not factual, take it down. That's not how it works. Fact-checking is the First Amendment. Someone says something stupid, and that happens every day in this Congress. Someone says something crazy. Someone says something that's not quite true, not quite accurate. You know what the fact check is? Someone says something else, and you have debate. That's what we do in this committee every day. And this is the committee who's supposed to protect that fundamental fact. Real fact-checking is the First Amendment. Our Supreme Court has been clear about that. You don't like certain speech, the best speech for wrong speech is more speech. The best speech for false speech is true speech. That's how it works. You have a debate, and you trust we, the people, to figure it out, not some expert who's going to fact-check every tweet, every post, and we saw this in the Biden administration. We're seeing it in Europe now. We're seeing it in Brazil. That was the first bill we dealt with from the gentleman from California, his good legislation that we all agreed on. We're going to work on and put a good bill on the floor. So that's the key. That's what and we know it happened because, again, we had the guy who runs one of the biggest companies in the world, most successful tech companies in the world, tell us it happened. We had on the third day of the Biden administration an email from the White House to Twitter saying, take down this tweet ASAP. The government telling a business to take down a tweet, and the tweet, ironically, was from RFK Jr., who was going to be running for president against the guy in the White House. So he was saying, take down the speech of my opponent. That's not how it's supposed to work in this country. That's what we're concerned about. That's why it's in our oversight plan. And if you want additional things to look at, again, put them in your viewpoints. We're happy to accept them. We'll take everything Mr. Raskin has said today, everything the gentlelady from Texas has said today. We'll take everything the Democrats said. You want to put all that in your plan? Put it in your plan. That's fine. That's how it works. But no, that's not good enough. That's not good enough. I yield back to the gentleman from California.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. I'm inspired by your First Amendment passion. You are the, I knew you would be. You are the Jon Stewart of the House of Representatives and the Voltaire of, and you put me in the mood of Brandeis. But I want to ask.
You can stop there.
No, I got to keep going a little bit because I have to know whether or not your First Amendment passion and principles, which I take to be completely true, and I've always known that about you, extend to one citizen named Donald Trump. Now, let's talk about Donald Trump for a second, okay? He is, after all, I think, the President of the United States. And check this out, okay? Everybody in this room who's sitting on this side of the dais is a politician, okay? We have people say stuff about us and say stuff about our rivals and our opponents all the time. I don't know if there's anybody here who's ever sued anybody in politics for libel or defamation. I'm taking that no. I imagine a lot of us have felt like, have you? Well, I'll be curious to hear about that later, Mr. Isa. But the vast majority of us don't sue people even when we feel really aggrieved by the mean things that people say. And yet, Donald Trump gets president of the United States, and suddenly he decides he doesn't like Jim Jordan's approach, which is the answer to bad speech is good speech. The answer to false speech is true speech. The nonsense is the dialectics of expression. That's the spirit of the First Amendment. Well, check this one out. Donald Trump personally suing CBS for $20 billion. The president of the United States is suing CBS for $20 billion. Why? What did they say about him? Did they lie about him? Did they defame him? No, it has nothing to do with him. It has to do with the way he thinks they unfairly edited a video conversation with Kamala Harris. He said that the way the video looked in the commercial for 60 Minutes was different from the way she appeared. The president of the United States is suing them for $20 billion and ordering the FCC, which is part of the US government and under his unitary executive theory, reporting directly to him like a monarch. He's ordered them to go out and investigate CBS. And meantime, his close friend is trying to take over Paramount. And so he's, of course, completely entangled on the business side. That's not the first time. He did it to ABC with George Stephanopoulos, which settled a suit for him for, I think that one was $15 million. The president of the United States is shaking down the media. Would you guys really be so silent and taciturn about this if it was Joe Biden doing that? Honestly, I'm just waiting for one person to answer me honestly about it. Would you guys be okay if Joe Biden had been the one who had said destroy a grand jury subpoena against the Democratic New York for corruption? Would you be okay with that? But suddenly, because it's Donald Trump, you don't want to do oversight on it. It's the most amazing thing in the world. And there are young people watching, and this is the US government. And we're going to be silent with all of these attacks on the First Amendment where the president is saying, I don't like the words you use. I want you to say Gulf of America, not Gulf of Mexico. Associated Press is now banned from this room. I'm kicking you out. I mean, come on. This is the United States of America. Will any of my friends over there, all of whom understand and love the First Amendment, say it should apply even against the President of the United States? And I know you voted for him, and you'd vote for him again if the Constitution changes and so on. But leaving all that aside, does the First Amendment not apply to him? So I find that we are in an astonishing situation right now.
Will the ranker yield?
I would gladly yield to the gentlelady from Texas.
You brought up the Gulf of Mexico, and I just left and I was talking about facts versus fiction. I'm curious to know, do y'all agree that it's the Gulf of Mexico? Can we say that that's a fact? Are any of y'all willing to say that it's a Gulf of Mexico instead of Gulf of America?
Well, but reclaiming my time, I would say that these days, that's opinion. It's a matter of fact from the standpoint of objective sources. But if people want to say it, that's great. I would never kick them out of the room for saying something different. But that's what's happening with Donald Trump. He's kicking people out of the room and punishing them, subordinating their role as press because they're not complying with his orders. That's not the First Amendment. I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
First up, Congressman Jim Jordan, God bless him, hits the nail on the head. He says what every American should be saying. The true fact checker in this country is the First Amendment, not some unelected, self-appointed social media expert sitting behind a computer deciding what you and I can say, read, or share. Jordan's right. When someone says something wrong, the answer isn't to silence them. The answer is to debate, to bring more speech, more facts, more perspectives. That's how our founders envisioned it. Free speech isn't a privilege from the government. It's a God-given right protected by the Constitution. If you don't like what someone says, argue back. Don't just erase their voice. And let's be honest, folks, what we're seeing now isn't just fact-checking. It's censorship, plain and simple. These so-called experts aren't neutral. They're pushing an agenda, and it's usually not ours. Jordan brings up a real bombshell. The Biden White House, on its third day in office, tells Twitter to take down a tweet from RFK Jr. Now, I'm not a huge RFK Jr. fan, but that's not the point. The point is the government is using its power to silence the president's own political opponent. Folks, if that doesn't chill you to the bone, you're not paying attention. This isn't just about one tweet or one politician. It's about the principle. The government, regardless of who's in office, should never be telling private companies to silence the opposition. That's how authoritarian regimes operate, not free nations. And this isn't just happening here. Jordan's right. This is spreading to Europe, Brazil, all over the West. The left wants a global speech police, and they want America to lead the way. Patriots, we have to stand up and say no. Now, here comes Jamie Raskin, trying to flip the script and accuse Trump and Republicans of being anti-First Amendment. He brings up Trump's lawsuits against CBS and ABC, claims Trump is shaking down the media, banning press from the room, and so on. Now, let's set the record straight. Is Trump perfect? No. Do I agree with every lawsuit? Of course not. But there's a massive difference between private citizens using the courts, as is their right, and the government using its regulatory power to silence speech across the board. The Trump lawsuits, whether you agree with them or not, went through judges in open court under the law. That's due process. When the Biden administration tells Twitter to take down this tweet ASAP, that's a backroom order. No judge, no jury, just pure government pressure. And let's not forget, Trump, more than any president in modern history, took the media head on. Did he criticize them? Absolutely. Did he bar access at times? Sure. But did he weaponize the federal bureaucracy to silence his opponents? There's zero evidence of that. Raskin keeps asking Republicans if we'd be okay with Biden doing this. Here's my answer. No, we wouldn't. That's the whole point. We're not okay with any president, Republican or Democrat, using government power to silence speech. But here's the hypocrisy. The left only cares about press freedom when it's their side being criticized. When Obama's DOJ spied on reporters, threatened whistleblowers, and tried to intimidate the press, where was the outrage? When Biden's White House pressures big tech to censor dissent, the media cheers it on. The truth is, the left wants free speech for themselves, not for you and me. For conservatives, Christians, gun owners, pro-lifers, they want us silenced. And then we get this ridiculous exchange about the Gulf of Mexico versus Gulf of America. Folks, this is a distraction. Of course it's the Gulf of Mexico. No one's arguing geographic facts here. But the left loves to turn every debate into a fact versus fiction issue, as if anyone who disagrees with them is denying reality. It's not about maps. It's about the freedom to discuss, debate, and yes, even disagree, without being silenced or labeled as misinformation. Did you catch that Associated Press report that got entered into the record? Even the mainstream media admitted that Obama's administration had a chilling effect on journalism. But you didn't see Democrats running around screaming about the First Amendment back then, did you? It's only a crisis when it's Trump. Here's the bottom line, patriots. Free speech is under assault. Not just from big tech, not just from the Biden administration, but from a whole mindset that says we know best and we'll decide what you can say, hear, or read. Our founders didn't fight and die for that. They gave us the First Amendment to protect us from government tyranny, no matter who's in charge. So my message to Congress, to the media, to big tech, and to every American, stand up for the First Amendment. Defend it for everyone. Debate, don't censor. Argue, don't silence. Free speech is what makes America great. Lose that, and we lose everything. If you agree, smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more real talk from a proud American patriot. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.